aquí de nuevo esta tarde, este domingo. Hello, my people, peeps. How are you? I'm waiting for somebody to show up. It's Sunday, nice afternoon. It's really nice outside, and I'm hoping to see a few people show up. And I have something to share, something very interesting. I at one time I was a legal secretary. And, years ago, secretaries used to have shorthand. I don't know if any of you know any of this, but years ago, secretaries used to take dictation in letters by shorthand. Everything was in shorthand years ago. And I remember in school, you had the two shorthands. I remember there was one. Well, I'm waiting for somebody to show up anyway. So I remember there was one shorthand. Comes and visit or chats with me, that would be so sad. I'll cry. I'll cry that nobody will come and say hello or stay with me. So anyway, I wanted to share with you, as I was saying, years ago I was and years ago you used to take shorthand, you know. So wherever you worked, and your boss had correspondence to send out, they would dictate letters to the secretary, and and you will take it in. The secretary will take it in shorthand, and it was very interesting. I remember there were two type of shorthands years ago. It was one called um, Greg Greg shorthand, and it was Pittman. Learned Pittman shorthand. Very interesting. Pittman shorthand. It was done with a pencil. With a pencil, because with a pencil you can you can write light, and you can dark a little better with the pencil than with a pen. So Pittman was my strong forte in my secretarial skills. So I used to write 100 words per minute. 100 words per minute, really. 100 or 75, I don't recall. I don't want to be lying, but yes, I used to be pretty good at it. So as I'm speaking right now, you would jot it down. And sometimes even when I'm watching TV, years later now, when I'm watching TV and I hear people speaking, in my mind, I write in shorthand what they're saying, and I can go pretty far with it. But yes, it was Pittman shorthand that I learned. And my girlfriend, she took Greg shorthand. And Greg shorthand, it could be written with with a pen, but not Pittman. Pittman has to be done with. There's people over. Hello, people. How are you? Edith, hi. How are you, sweetheart? I'm reminiscing. I'm trying to share with you that years ago, when I was before I became a nurse, I used to be a secretary. A legal secretary. I used to work in courts, and I used to, years ago, you used to take shorthand and whatever. Like as I'm speaking right now, in my head, I can write whatever I'm saying in shorthand. So I was, I have a paper right before, in back of me, which I'll share with you as soon as you'll understand what I'm talking about. That shorthand was something that your boss dictated a letter to you, and you took it in shorthand, and then you had to transcribe. Similar to now, like in courts. When you see in courts, you see the lady that sits next to the court reporter. She's typing. She's typing in shorthand, really, whatever they're saying. I mean, when she in the strokes of her fingers. I guess I never really looked into it, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot that you get to learn about it. So anyway, so I want to show you, I want to share to you certain things that I just pinned something behind me, a page that, because I'm really outside, I'm not in my computer. So if you see, you're gonna see certain things what they mean in Pittman shorthand. So I'm gonna flip the phone so you can see. So you see over there, you see on top the letter P is a slanted stroke right over here. It's a slanted stroke right there, very light with a pencil, and the way is slanted right on the line. That's a letter P. So if you want to write part, P-A-R-T, this little thing over here is the sound of RT. This little short stroke next to the P is RT, pert. So the ah sound is right of that little dot. The little dot over there is pa. If you notice, the whole little thing is above the is not sitting on the line, is right flying in the middle of the line. In order to have the sound of ah, P-A, pa, you have to lift your P up a little bit, not on the line. You have to swing it right in the middle. So with the right on the top over here, the little dot is ah. So and then you have the short little stroke that goes up next to the P is the sound of RT, part, P-A-R-T. So that's how you would write, the letter part, like saying, and like if your boss say enclose here, there's a part. So you would write that. And so parts, if you want to say parts, you add a little S, which is a tiny little circle. You see that over there? A tiny little circle, that's the sound of the S. Isn't that interesting? Amazing, right? A way of communicating. So all these things, all these letters, all these words over here, they all have the word they all have the word P, the sound of P. If you go down the line up to the bottom is pictured. So we go parting right over here. Parting. If you are to the RT, a little is a little darker stroke is the sound of NG, parting, and then you can have since you still have the whole word in the middle, not sitting on the bottom line. Because if you have it sitting on the bottom line, then it will mean something else. The R doesn't become the sound of R. So this little thing over here, that's the sound of NG. So with a tiny little dot at the end is the sound of E, parting. Okay, and then the next word is parted. TED is shorted. So it doesn't become the RT it does not continue. So the R is the next word over here, par, and then the short little dot down is Ted, sound of Ted, with the little dot in the middle. That would be parted. So no longer you make the RT over here. The RT sound disappears because it's parted. So then you write it this way, and then partly, this is an L. That little wave over here after the part. Now you can use part RT, the RT small over here, and then partly. And then you go to parter, bottom, parter. This is the sound of part, make a little shorter, and then at the bottom. This is the sound through the line. Through the line is ER, parter. And then partner, again here, over here you see PRT. This is the sound of PRT. And then NR with a little slant is partner. So those of you who want to take a little screenshot of that, you can see, you'll be able to make to make note of what Pittman shorthand is like. It's not used anymore. I don't know if it's used, but so now you moved on to the next center over here, depict over here. You see depict, this is the letter depict. This what depict means. D is a stroke down, is made a little dark. The D is a little dark, and then you have the P coming down, and short is CT, depict. This is place, PL. This is the sound of PL. This is the sound of PL, and then the little circle it adds as an S. And then places, the S is made a little bigger, so it has a places sound. Okay, and then I told you the NG before. This is NG sound, is a little darker at the bottom. That means NG. So small circle, which is a place, and then placing. And then placed, ST. This is the sound of ST over here. This little like a belly, like a inflamed belly is placed. And then placement and play. This is play, right? This is the sound of, this little dot makes the sound of A, letter A, play. So it's really interesting. Pittman shorthand is very interesting. Years ago, this is how it was. This is how, how now you have, now you don't need, I don't know is what secretaries do nowadays. Even when the computers started, there was something that, there was for secretaries. They used to have a lot of other things that you learn, which I learned, and now it's obsolete. I don't know what they use now. Maybe they use the cassette. So and then you, the next section over here, if you noticed, you can move on, and you can see all those words. That's exactly in shorthand. This is the meaning, all the way at the bottom. Possible, possibility. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting how how shorthand is. I don't know if any of you are interested in this, but I figure I'll share it. I'll share this with you because this is something that a lot of you do not know. That this is how shorthand. I don't know if you ever heard of Morse code. The Morse code, that little by taps. One tap, two taps means something, like, years to navigate. This is what they use the Morse code in the Marines. But years ago, secretaries this is the way they used to write, by shorthand. Like I said, it was shorthand. There was Greg shorthand, and there was Pittman shorthand. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know if they still use that, but I thought let me share this with the viewers. And if you noticed, the last column over there, the next column is the letter B. Is the sound of the B is a darker stroke. The light stroke over here on the first one, if you see over here, this is a light. If it's light, if your pencil, you stroke it very light, that's the sound of P, right on the line. The line. If it sits on the line, the D sits on the line, is a DE, depict. And the next one is ports, sits on the line. Let's find for somebody. Oh, there's about over here. About is on top because the sound, you start with the sound of ah. So the sound of ah goes on top of the line, not not doesn't sit on the line. If it sits on the line, it would mean something else. The sound. So this little mark over here, a tiny little, like a V upside down, is out. The sound of out. And the short B is BT sound. And since it's above, it has the sound of the BT, and out out sound. This one, this little V downwards is out, out, about, about. Isn't that interesting? And this is how you would write back. Sits on top of the line. BA. This is the K. Light. B is dark. Is a dark stroke. If you notice, this is a dark stroke on a pencil. You have to stroke it darker, and it will mean a B. And then you go next to it, which is the sound of K. You write it light, not dark. So if you notice backs, the S sound is at the end with the tiny circle, so it sits on the line because it has the letter sound, the backs. And backing, like I told you before, the NG is darker. You make this little half a circle, darker, and then B is darker, the K is light. That would be backing. So yes, I find it interesting. I thought that you guys will find that interesting. This this whole I'm outside in the backyard, so I figure I just pin it in back in front of my my cell phone, to show it to you, to show you about to show you something. You learned something interesting today. You learned something about Pittman. So whoever is listening to me today, you can say, "Hey, there was some girl talking on live today. She was talking about Pittman. Have you ever heard of Pittman before?" And you not only did you learn something new, but you will teach somebody else. New also. You will say, "Hey, have you ever heard of the word Pittman?" And then you will say, "Well, Pittman used to be it's a shorthand that secretaries used to use years ago when the bosses dictated letters, or when they were in conference." Something that I did go to courts, and my boss was a lawyer. He was a criminal lawyer, and also he did divorces, and he also did some kind of immigration work. So I went with him all over the place, conferences, immigration cases, and I would take notes, in shorthand, and then I would come to the office and transcribe whatever I had written. And interestingly enough, I never, it's something that you never forget. You transcribe all that information, and in conferences, that's another thing. There's many people talking, so if the conference is going to be with 3 people or 4 people, you have on your folder, you have the names of the persons involved in the conference. So if it's Paul and Michael and Duffy, so you write on shorthand whatever Michael or Duffy is saying, or whatever the person's name is saying. You'll strike your pencil on the person's name, and you'll write down whatever he's conveying to your boss, or whatever the meeting is about. So that's how it used to be years ago, you know. So yes, so what you see in front of you as I'm speaking is Pittman shorthand, But that's not really, I'm just sharing with you a little bit. I'm not sharing with you, maybe some other days I'll share with you another consonant or another letter, how another letter is written. Then again, let me go again with you. The P is light, and the D is dark. The stroke is darker. The P is lighter, so that will be P. So the letter P is light. It's a light stroke. the D is darker, and and Pittman is always used with pencil. Not you don't use a pen with it. So the NG sound, this is S. The bigger S is ses. You is when the words end in sesses. So you'll make a bigger circle, and then if the word ends in ing, so you make it a darker. It's a darker stroke over here. This is ng placing, and pl is a P with a little hook. That's the sound of PL, placing. So you'll sit the whole thing on the line. Place the letter A, the sound of A, places goes on the line. The sound of goes on top of the line. You get the difference? And also the sound is on the top of the letter of the stroke pa. You know, that's that's if you put the sound on the middle, is a. So that sound of place, when you have an a sound, the whole letter sits on the line to give it the sound. So whoever's with me and trying to, any of you speak Spanish, I'll say it in Spanish too. I said in Spanish too. When I learned Pittman shorthand years ago, you used to, is done with pencil. You know what I mean? It is written with pencil, and so anyone with anyone sitting there right now on the background speak Spanish at all? Anybody writing? Come on, guys, say something. Be nice. Be nice to me. Como les digo, and I'm going to say it in Spanish, el shorthand is en español. Cuando se escribe en Pittman, uno usa, se usa ¿cómo se llama? Es claro, el stroke es claro. Y si es dark, means something else. So yes, this is just the letter P and the letter B at the end. If you see the letter B is a little darker. The sound is that the sound of B is a darker stroke is the letter B. If it is on the line, So back, the K is a light stroke, and I showed you early. NG is the sound of NG is darker stroke, semicircle darker, and that's the sound of NG. And B, there's a little dot on the top, is ba, k, the K, and the NG backing. That means backing. So it is very interesting. You know what I mean? If you guys interested, whoever's with me and listening, Pittman shorthand is a very interesting. It was a very interesting thing that I learned when I was, when I was in school. And if you want to take a screenshot of that, you can share with somebody, and whoever's a friend, say, hey, look, there was a girl on live talking about this, and look, this is what I learned. So feel free to take a screenshot and share it. As I'm sharing it with you, take a screenshot of this, and that's Pittman shorthand. This is how secretaries used to go learn how to write, and then you also transcribed. So very interesting. Wouldn't you say that is very interesting? Shorthand is very, and that's, I don't know that if any of you know, who knows if any of you know now presently, was, if you ever was aware of shorthand. I mean, I don't know, unless you tell me in your comments if you know or are aware of shorthand, or if you ever knew about shorthand. Like you see the court reporters, they whatever goes on, and they, those people are in the court are talking, she's jotting down on her typewriter, with each strokes, she knows what they all saying. So it is very interesting. So I thought I'd share that with you. But then again, I said that is not. This is just the beginning of the shorthand. Of Pittman shorthand. I have other material to share with you. So I don't know if you were interested, but like I said, it will be something. Let me flip back the. Even if I flip back, I don't think I'm gonna flip back to my face, because whoever comes in will not know what I'm talking about if they see my face. But if they see, if they see in front of them what I'm showing, they'll know that I'm talking about they're talking about shorthand. And like I said, it's something that you guys, you learn something new today. Usually you learn about other things, about some jokes and stuff, but this is something that, that nobody, I don't know if anybody is aware of it, but it's something very, very interesting. Um, so I thought that, that I will share with you this little bit of history. Um, so some other day I'll show you the different letters. Like in this, I'll show you like letters with the D, letter with the with the H, a lot of different letters, because I cannot really go over just one. I don't think you can really know from just one page. You can know what the hell it is going on. But it's something to learn, something to know, something to really be of interest for to anybody. So I thought that would be cool. So anyway, let me flip the phone back to me. Hi, everybody. Did you guys learn anything today about the letters? Hi, how are you? I was talking to you about shorthand. I was before I was talking to you about shorthand, Pittman shorthand. I don't know if you were aware of it, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting to know that years ago, that's how secretaries used to write write everything that their boss, t- you know, uh, dictated to them, and then the secretary did transcribe whatever whatever was written or whatever they dictated to them, and that's how it was done. By doing that. And interestingly, I still in my I typing you know typing I used to type like 100 words per minute, as but that all that I left it behind once I was interested in becoming a nurse. That whole world of shorthand, Pittman shorthand, was left behind. But nevertheless, I did took it, in my career as a nurse, because as a nurse, you do have so much information. The classes, sometimes the classes were so vigorous and like overwhelming, that since I knew shorthand, I would jot down all the information in shorthand, and I would have to come home and transcribe all that information that I took in classes, so I could study or go over it. So everything that you cultivate in this world, you use it. So I learned Pittman shorthand when I was young, so it's something that I did use. Um, I use it in my in my next career as a nurse. Even when you interview patients, there's so much information that you have to jot down, and so much information that you have to get, and just by writing, you cannot whatever they tell you, you cannot really remember. You can record, really, but I don't think recording is very. I don't think recording interviews is used. I never used it. Like I said, I used my shorthand because it was part of me, part something that I learned. So yes, the shorthand was something that I did continue to use in my